here. Welcome back to Decisive Operations. Today we're going to talk about vehicle combat. I know it's been a while since I've done a battle drill for Spectre Operations, but I got the roads, I got the vehicles, and I got my awesome newly painted Ocelot mercenary group that needs to hit the table. So we're going to show the basics. We're going to have a scenario with a VAB and an Ocelot mercenary group soldier with rocket propelled grenade launcher. Yes, there's 1,000 different scenarios that we can show. There's different intricacies when we're talking about main battle tanks, but the core of what we're going to show here in this video will set the foundation for you to be able to use vehicles in your games of Spectre Operations. Then we're going to do a quick dive into the Errata and point system, maybe like 5 minutes, not even talking about that. Very minimal but very important changes or updates to the game. Not really like wholesale changes, just adding to the menu that you have for this sweet modern rule set. So without any further ado, we're going to jump right into the battle and we're going to show different scenarios of how to use your vehicle. The basis for all the scenarios that we're going to cover today to teach the vehicular combat are going to have the same core components. We're going to have these trained mercenaries up on the rooftop with all the lasers. One has an RPG, one does not. You have these two guys down here just for scenic effect. And then you have the VAB. The VAB may have or may not have the dismounts. So we're going to run a couple scenarios that teach vehicular rules and based off this scenario right here. If you look at page 68 in your Spectre Operations rulebook, you will see the vehicle rules. So I'm not going to go over these in depth, but you have 4 basic values. You have your move value, MV. You have your armor value, AV. You have your transport capacity, which is TT. And then you have your number of crew. So how many crew it takes to man that vehicle. And that's CW. Some things to note. You have to move 2 inches before you can turn up to 45 degrees. And then if you move more than 6 inches, you cannot dismount. The crew is considered to be by trained soldiers, but with the new points value that comes out, you can modify that and up them to trained, from trained to professional, professional to elite. I kind of like the idea of them being trained. It just kind of degrades the soldier's capability because they're behind a fully armored vehicle, right? So you kind of get away from these ridiculous agility stats that can exist out there. Because when you take defensive saves from your vehicle, your defensive save is the driver's agility, not the defense. All right, so we're going to go into the scenarios. So scenario 1, we're going to operate under the assumption that the mercenaries have the priority, or they have the initiative. So the mercenary player is not going to elect to put anybody on Overwatch. So this would be a mistake, right? I would advise to always have your RPGs on Overwatch because you're not going to be able to move them anyways. Because now we go to the command phase for the VAB. There's no commands that the VAB player wants to do. He doesn't have a leader in there that can call for fire or do anything like that. So then we're going to go straight into the movement and tactical actions. There's no movement or tactical actions that we want to do with our RPG because the RPG obviously can't move and fire. So what now happens is the VAB is going to do a full move. So a full move is 12 inches. So tire to tire, 6 inches, or that's 9 inches, and this is 12. And now the VAB is within the minimum distance of that RPG, so now the RPG can't shoot at it. So that would end scenario 1. So scenario 1, Ocelot mercenary group had the initiative. They thought they didn't have to go on Overwatch because they would be able to shoot because they're going to shoot first, and they were sorely mistaken. So scenario 2, Ocelot mercenary group have the initiative. They put themselves on Overwatch. So now what's going to happen is the VAB is going to move. He's only going to want to move 6 inches because he's still going to want to shoot his 50 caliber machine gun. And now we're going to go to Ocelot Mercenary Group. It's going to be their shoot first. So we're not going to shoot on the Overwatch and take the additional -1. We're just going to shoot on our normal shoot. So now we go to the combat phase. We don't use this Overwatch token, so that gets taken away. And now we are going to fire our RPG. So because we moved, we're going to use the driver's agility value for the VAB driver. If we didn't move, it would just be like shooting at a stationary or inanimate object, and you'd have to beat a defense score of an 8. But it moved, so what we're going to do is we're going to look it up, and it's a 3. So the agility value is a 3 for the VAB, and the shoot value is a 4 for the RPG. The RPG is elevated, so it's going to get a +1. So the RPG is going to roll his attack dice. And we said +1, so that's going to be a 3, bringing us a total of a 7 for a shoot value. Alright, so the VAB is going to try to defend against this. His agility is a 3, so we need a 5 to be able to beat this. And we knock over some fruit, and we don't. Alright, so he's hit. So the VAB is hit with an RPG. VAB is a full armored vehicle, so it's not going to take 2 suppression points. It's going to take 1. It's going to take 1 even if you fail to penetrate. So if you're hit with a shrapnel around, you're going to be somewhat suppressed. So the VAB is hit. Its armor value is a 10, and the RPG penetration value is 7 plus D6. So on a 3, we get to roll on the pen chart. So every amount that we beat the score of the armor value by of the penetration, we add that to our penetration chart roll. So 1. So in this scenario, there are no penetration on this because that is a value of 8 and the VAB is a value of 10. So the only effects of that shot is 1 suppression marker put onto the VAB. Now because the VAB is armored, fully armored, but because the VAB is armored, small arms fire is not going to continue to put suppression on it. So there's no other way with the models on the board for the Ocelot Mercenary Group to put suppression on that vehicle. Now, what most of you have been waiting for, we're going to have the VAB shoot back. So the VAB is going to shoot back. He's going to shoot because he did not move more than 6 inches. He can shoot with his HMG, his 50 cal. So we're going to shoot 3 shots at the guy in the roof. So it's -1 and then -2 because from the angle from the ground up, he's 50% covered. So we're going to get -3 to this. And his shoot value is a 4. So the easiest way to do it is just to subtract it from the dice. So this shot is a 4 because it's going to be straight shoot value. This is straight shoot value because the modifier is -3. And this will be turned to a 2. And then his shoot value is a 4, so it's going to go to a 6. And the defensive value for the trained soldier is a 2. And we're going to try to beat that 4. He beats it. He's going to try to beat that 4. He does not beat it, and then we're going to try to beat that 6. And he is not. And then lethality rolls is going to be 2. So on a 2 up with a 50 caliber machine gun, that guy is toasted. And he does have body armor, so it's a 3 up. Alright, so 1 wound, but 1 flat out kill. And so the VAB successfully destroyed the RPG. So that's just something interesting to note for the vehicles, is that those vehicles, they can move and shoot, even if it says you can't move and fire, like it is for a 50 cal, because it's on the turret, but you can still only move 6 inches. Alright, so let's just see how this works with dismounts. Different scenario. So in this scenario, the VAB has priority. No commands to be issued by the VAB. But being the KG player that we are, watching the last 5 minutes of this video, we know to put our RPG on Overwatch. That's okay because the VAB, the French player, knows that he has 2 soldiers inside his vehicle and he wants to be able to dismount them. So he's going to move 2 inches. So he's going to go right there. And he's going to turn 45 degrees. He's going to move 2 inches again. And then he's going to move his final 2 inches, turning 45 degrees before he turns. Yeah, that was kind of unnecessary, but I kind of pigeonholed myself here with this road, and I wanted to show how that was done. Okay, so what's going to happen now is the RPG player knows that there are troops inside that VAB. There's 2 different schools of thought here. You're not going to be able to suppress the troops inside the VAB by suppressing the vehicle. This isn't bolt action. But on the crew damage chart or on the vehicle penetration chart, there is a possibility that you could damage the passengers inside the vehicle, potentially kill them. So that's what he's going to go for. So he is, at the end of that move, he's going to proc his Overwatch, and he's going to shoot. So he's +1, -1 because he is above, 3 inches above his target. However, he is shooting an Overwatch. So the red dice is going to be him, the black dice is going to be the VAB. So overall, he has no modifiers, and his shoot value is 1 greater than the driver's skill value. So +1 to the roll here for the red player. So he's going to hit. So now, just like before, we're going to roll for vehicle penetration. Strength 7, and the D6 added to that, 6. So 13. So what this means is it's 3 greater than 10. So we're going to add 3 to the roll and then consult the vehicle penetration chart. 9. All right, so we rolled a 6. We exceeded by 3, so we scored a 9. At page 71, you have your vehicle armor penetration table. It's important you get the FAQ. That came out, I think, in June or July 2019, so just last month, because 2 of these charts are changed. However, on an 8-up, it's a kill. The vehicle is completely destroyed, and any onboard ammunition and fuel ignites. The explosion extends D6 inches from the vehicle in all directions, including lethality roll of 4-up for many models on the inside. The area is also set ablaze. All crew and passengers are killed. Okay, so all crew and passengers are killed, and anyone in that D6 radius is hit on a killed on a 4-up. So it's a 2-inch radius, so it's not going to affect anybody. But in the 2-inch radius around that vehicle is now on fire, and you could potentially get killed in a 4-up. See my previous video where I talk about hand grenades and RPGs about walking through flames and potentially catching on fire. So this was a great shot. With this RPG in this little can scenario, we saw the benefit of going on Overwatch. We killed the VAB. VAB is now on fire. And the 2 soldiers inside the VAB were killed as well. And that's all because he procced on the Overwatch. If we were to, let's say, not proc our Overwatch, so we're still on Overwatch. We don't want to shoot it because, for whatever reason, we don't think that's the best thing to do. Because technically this whole squad's on Overwatch. But the French player would dismount their 2 troops, touching base contact with the entry-exit point. They then now get a regular move. So they would be able to move, and then the move. And again, any one of these would proc an Overwatch shot for anyone up there on Overwatch. So now, at the end of the move phase, for the French, they're positioned as such, and you have the Ocelot Mercenary Group, who do not have the initiative, who will go next. So you can see why, even though you're a -1 to hit, it's really important with APCs, with vehicles in general, to have your guy on Overwatch, who you're going to designate be the anti-tank guy. Again, I'm sure there's some situational basis here, but just having that card to play, you're not going to be able to move him anyways if you're going to shoot an RPG or any type of man-portable anti-tank weapon. if we combine the two previous scenarios, and let's say those guys were inside this vehicle and that vehicle got one shock marker, one suppression token, when these guys dismount and they move, they are now an entirely separate squad. They are their little two-man element going out to draw fire. They do not gain or take with them that suppression token that vehicle got. That stays with that vehicle. So this was a quick and dirty breakdown into how vehicles work. So we saw how vehicles move. You have to move 6 inches before you can turn, you have to move 2 inches before you can turn 45 degrees. If you move up to 6 inches, no greater than, you can still dismount and you can still shoot. If you move at all, you get to use the driver's agility value to defend against attacker's dice. And if you don't move, you have a stationary value of 8, just like an inanimate object. And if you're defending against vehicles and you have RPGs or you have some type of man-portable anti-tank weapon, it is imperative to go on Overwatch. It stops the player who has control of that vehicle from rushing you and getting inside your minimum fire range, and it just gives you some options to play out that turn instead of missing your opportunity. Because once that vehicle is inside of 6 inches, now you're going to have to spend another turn moving away, and then potentially another turn before you can shoot again because it's a move or fire weapon. At that point, dismounts will already be deployed from that vehicle, and you've kind of missed your opportunity. So there's a lot of rules associated with vehicles because each vehicle is its own unique system, which is something we love about Spectre Operations. You can really go out there and with the rules and now with the points value, you can go out and make damn near anything you want and put it on the table and have it represent something for modern miniatures. Hopefully this is helpful, and I think we're going to transition now and talk about the FAQ and points values. Well, I hope you guys enjoyed that rundown for how vehicles work in Spectre Operations. What we're going to talk about now is what recently came out. So we have the 2nd edition Errata and the force selection and point values. So first, let's start with force selection and point values. I know a lot of people have been clamoring for it. I was a little skeptical about this at first because when you start to make things very granular, sometimes you kind of lose the beauty of the game system. So here it is. It's there for you. It's on the Spectre Miniature webpage under downloads. It breaks literally everything down, from point values for picking your forces, for picking what weapons they have, including sidearms, for grenades, which I think is another way that you can comp the game so you're not just running around checking grenades all day, to specialist gear, drones, and then what I like the most is the off-the-table assets. So hopefully here we'll be publishing some more battle reports, and we're going to still try to use the ratios that they give you in the rulebook. However, we're going to add, when we start adding off-table assets, because I've been contemplating how I show off-table assets, right? Do I want to make a battle drills just showing off-table assets, or probably just start playing smaller games using those off-table assets? That's the best way to show it. So that's what I'm going to do, and I think that's a great way to even the playing field. So you use the ratios of the force. So you have, I guess it's 6 elite operatives against your 10 trained soldiers, and we have 100 points of additional things that we can do, or 50 points of additional things. So whether you want to give all your trained soldiers body armor, you can use the points for that, or if you want to start giving you guys off-table assets, you can do that. And I think that is probably the best of both worlds, and what we're going to try out here in the channel, of adding these new cool features so you don't lose anything, right? It's just another way to play the game. But I just caution everyone making this the be-all, end-all for Spectre Operations, being a points game or a match game, right? At the end of the day, these are scenario rules, and it's a scenario-driven game, and you're trying to create a feel for modern combat rather than this super tight tournament rule set. So this was awesome, definitely value added. Just caution everybody in going out and turning this into something competitive. But I don't think that's going to happen. The next thing is the errata and clarification. So you have a revised index, which is cool, but then the errata is just a page front and back, which is good. I mean, it means not a lot has changed. Clarification for grenades, for throwing grenades in the doors, windows, stuff like that. Vehicles, so like I said, the vehicle penetration table, they revised when you roll a 6 or a 7 on the vehicle penetration table. And there's just a couple extra things for off-table assets and preparing a scenario. Very minor, nothing taking a look at it that really stands out as something that we were interfacing with that was like, wait, this has to change, otherwise the game is stupid. But I guess maybe we just didn't get like attack helicopter OTAs. We never got to that point. So I'm sure there's probably something happened that had to drive that, right? So I don't know off the top of my head because we didn't use attack helicopters to what did that. But it's there. And then you have a revised index, which is always good. Put it in the back of your book, and this will help definitely when you're navigating the book. Definitely, because the book was definitely an improvement from version 1, but there's still some oddities I've noticed when I'm flipping through the book, and I'm starting to create my own like quick reference sheets. And on the Facebook page for Spectre Miniatures, not their store page, but their support page, their group page, a lot of people have made some pretty awesome QRFs and like unit cards and stuff that I highly recommend to go download. I hope you enjoyed that breakdown of vehicular combat and just a quick touch on errata and points values. There wasn't really enough there for me to make a separate video, to warrant a separate video just for points values and erratas. I guess I could for points values, but that's a rabbit hole I don't feel like I want to go into this game. I'm very happy with the ratios and then the points adding on to your trained troops or adding off-table assets, or that odd question of how do we incorporate vehicles, right? This whole video is about vehicles, but where's the ratio for vehicles to troops? Well, now you have a points value. So you have the core of what your game is going to be, and if you choose to spend your 50 points or 100 points on a couple of Humvees or maybe, a four-wheeler, that's how you spend your extra points, and your opponent has a chance to counter that with their points. So let me know how that works. That's what we're going to try here. Hopefully coming here in the fall, we're going to have some more Spectre Operations content on the channel. It's a fantastic game. Just there's a lot of things going around, a lot of different games dropping this summer, or finally getting them painted to put them on the channel. So I know the channel's been a little bit all over the place, which was always the intent. But now we kind of want to zero in on the games we've displayed and kind of show very loose running narratives of narrative play, right? So maybe not full-on campaigns, but just some type of background story that drives us from playing different missions. And then we'll see how much we want to get into running straight up campaign games. Great campaign system in here. I just don't know if that's what we want to be doing on camera for Spectre Operations. So we'll decide that when we sit down and figure out how we want to go forward with campaigns in Spectre. Thanks for watching as always. Please hit like and subscribe and hit the bell to get notifications. Also, I have a playlist that is all the stuff I do with my collaboration with Paint All the Minis. So right now I'm running some Blood and Plunder battle reports for them, and also my hobby progress gets posted on their site, and I just go ahead and I like it and I create a folder inside my page that brings you over to them, so I'm not stealing any likes or anything from Paint All the Minis. So thanks for watching, and we'll see you in the next one.